This lesson is on using Ajax to run a select statement and then view the results of that select statement on a web page. So it's a very simple web page here, obviously. We're just going to use this to illustrate the principle. I click on the button, Get Users. Voila! I see user ID and pass1. These are the user codes that we used before for doing logon authentication. So let's go look at the code. So we'll go down to the body. Very simple button. Once again, I'm not even submitting this. I'm just setting up a thread with Ajax. On click, I call View Users. I have a division ID here of valid users, and I have an error div for color equals red. All right, let's go up to the top now, and let's look at it. Our standard must copy this code at the top of every Ajax program. Here's the function, View Users. If the request object is good, we open, we post, and here's the program I wish to call. Again, I put the suffix of _ Ajax at the end of it for clarity. Standard content type, onReady state change. We're going to run the function, listen for the two codes, and we're going to get a response. Put it in return data. Now, return data is a little bit more complicated this time. Return data is an actual table. So I don't want to put all that code inside of all this code. So I'm just going to call a function I wrote called process data, and I'm going to pass what came back from the program up here in the response text area. Let's go down and look what comes back. Actually, before I do that, just very quickly, you can see here we have to do a send even if we don't have any data to pass. I'm passing dummy here. I'm not really using the data for any reason. There is a way to make a call with a send without passing data, but it requires a slight change in the code that I showed you up above, and I didn't want to deal with that right now. So I think just putting dummy in there for now and keeping this consistent makes it so you don't have to become an expert here, but you're able to be effective using Ajax. So let's go back to the process data function. Return data. Now, this is JavaScript again. Return data is the object. It is the string information. It happens to be a whole table, pretty much. But I look at the substring of return data. This is the way you do it with the dot. And I'm saying start with the first character for 5. And if the first 5 characters are capital letters, error, then I know I had a problem with the database. So I have that error div down below. Remember where it's all set up as red? So I get the element ID on that. Get a handle on the division, the pointer to the division here in the variable, and then I set the inner HTML to be error on database. I should probably display the return data as well to get the full message, but for now, I'm just going to return that. Now, if I don't have an error in the return data, I'm going to go ahead and process the data as I would want to normally see it when we have success. So instead of putting this in the error div, I'm going to put it in the valid users div. Let's go down just a little bit. Say I have an empty division down there, valid users. It's not in red though. So I get the element by ID on that, put the pointer. Now I'm going to set the inner HTML to be return data. That's what came back in the response text area from this program. Okay, let's go look at that program now. So here we are. Now this is a bit more complicated now. We're starting to do some real work. I have a couple of variables that I want to initialize up here. And I have something here, 811 common functions. And that's included in your working files. And that contains the kind of functions that you've seen in the past that I've done where I handle the select statement results and simplify the SQL code that we put in our main program. So I have select. I select user ID and password from valid users. Order by the user ID. Select results. Remember that's a function in there? I pass the statement that I just built to that function, get the SQL results, and I have that error or rows thing. This is stuff you've seen before. I've done the same technique where I have error, and I can put error on DB, error rows, and I create a variable here called $myTable. No real table in this, but down below, when we have a success, we will have myTable. So let's go down here. We're doing a for loop for the number of rows that came back, so I mean it's a success, and it is if we fell through this loop. And now I get the user ID and password, just like we've done before off the SQL results array, and I build this table, the beginning row, the ending row, with the cells as user ID and password. And you saw that table. It all worked really good. End the table, and I just print my table. So that's sending the whole table back from the program. And it's placing it. Let's go back to the code. Back here in process data. It's taking that table, that return data, and setting that return data onto the inner HTML of the valid users div. And we don't see that at first, of course, because when we first come in here, it's empty. So we didn't have to make it visible or invisible. It just simply was empty. There was nothing to see here. Okay, let's go back. We're not going to see a change here, but each time I click that, it's bringing the table back right onto the web page. The nice thing about Ajax is it behaves much more like a Windows program or a desktop program, in that in the old days we had something called client server, where we had a desktop program or a Windows program, what have you, that would make a connection to a database server and bring information down and display it right on the window we were in. Unlike most internet programs that send back whole web pages, we have to pass data back and forth and manage our sessions between pages very carefully. Using Ajax can make a web page behave much more like a desktop program, because we're doing everything in place and just passing data back and forth, not whole web pages.